Welcome to the first video on your software engineering course for this particular semester. These set of slides I received from Professor Gurthi, so I'll be using this in our today's lecture, or you can call it as a today's video. So these, let's have a quick glance on the textbooks and the reference books which we are going to use in this particular course. So these are some textbooks which I will be referring to. One is your A Practitioner's Approach by Roger Pressman. Pressman is a very popular name in the software engineering industry. Then we have like Ian Somerville's book, which is from the Pearson's Education. Then we have your Integrated Approach to Software Engineering, and these are a couple of references which we are going to use in our course. So let's talk about some basic topics which we're going to cover. We'll talk about the need of software engineering, what basically the software engineering is, we'll see, and why it is required, the quality attributes, some of the software prices, what's the current status, and the ethics we are going to cover in today's lecture. So to start with, what we have is the term software engineering, right? We have this particular term with us, which is software engineering. So if you carefully observe, it is derived from the two terms. One is your software, another one is your engineering. So when we talk about software, so it's nothing but something which is more than a program code, right? A simple program will be something which is like a few lines of codes which you can execute, but software is nothing but a package, right? So it's a collection of your programming codes, and on top of it, it will have some associated libraries, and then it will have some documentation part as well, right? So a complete software is called when we have the software plus the associated documents, and then we call it as a software product. When we talk about engineering, so since you people are in this field, so you are aware about this particular engineering term, that which is derived from the word engine, where the purpose is to do some work, right? So let's talk about the need of software engineering and what basically what we mean by the software engineering. So the need basically is like we said that we have a good number of programs and the associated documents. So the basic need is that now we need to manage large applications or large software applications, to be very specific. I need to be much more scalable as far as my software applications are concerned. I need to manage the software cost. I need to manage the dynamic nature of softwares. And for overall quality management, we need to have software engineering in place, right? For all these reasons, I need to have the idea about software engineering, right from the initial stage to the final, and even the post deployment stage. We need to incorporate the guidelines which are definitely in the software engineering. Now let's talk about softwares, right? So as I previously said that this is nothing but your computer programs and the associated documents. So no software product is complete without the documentation part. So if I have the documentation, so my software is complete. So your software may be developed for a particular customer or may be developed for a general market. So in that case, if I have the associated documents, whosoever wants to use it will be able to use it with lot amount of ease just because I have these documents with me. These days, every software package you will find that I have the exes and I have the documentations as well. Now, the question arises that why should documentation be a part of software? Right. So, often these software works in the specific atmosphere. And this particular atmosphere is intentionally set up. Although this atmosphere includes but it is not limited to the interface of the software or the hardware in a specific type or the versions or the values in the configuration tables or the specific database tables. Right. So it's like, let's say a particular application has a usability and I'm making it available to certain set of users, right? So for that sake, what we do is we provide these documentations that can be for the installation purpose or can be for usage. There can be a troubleshooting part as well. Recall your days of registrations, right? Course registrations. You get a document where you see the step by step instructions to follow in order to get yourself registered to a specific course. Especially that happens in case of the electives which we offer and you people opt for. On top of it, we have the troubleshooting document as well, that if suppose there are some issues, so how to handle it. Right, so just imagine that without these documentation, can you deliver a particular application? Probably no. In any particular website, you go ahead and download a particular application, software application to be very specific. You will see some link given to the associated documents in order to how to use it, right? There you'll have several steps. The flow of control will be there, that okay, for the registration, go to this page, from there do this, drop down, take a drop down menu, do this, do that, and then you'll be able to go ahead with the complete usage of it. Now let's see further that what is basically your engineering. Now the definition says the engineering is the art. Now you'll say that okay, engineering becoming art or science, now this makes the point clear, of making practical applications of the knowledge of pure sciences, as it can be your physics or chemistry, as in the construction of engines, bridges, buildings, mines, ships, and chemical plants and whatnot. So this basically we have derived from your dictionary.com. So it is nothing but the initial discussion where I said that engineering we have got from the term engine, where the purpose of the engine is to provide some output in the form of some work to be done, right? That's the whole sole purpose of engineering. So engineering is the process of manufacturing a product using a set of well defined principles, right? So make a note of it: well defined principles, techniques and methodologies, such that the process is repeatable and offers certain estimated values of quality of the product being manufactured. See, providing the estimate will help us in evaluation. comparison, right? I have, let's say, several products in front of me, so, and I have to choose one out of those products. So I'll do some evaluation, I'll do some comparison in order to take a final call on a particular product. So for example, I have like piece of art, are not the result of engineering. So the automobile, cars, your cell phones, your office furniture, medicines, and your softwares, electric bulbs, and whatnot are nothing but the results of engineering. So now the question is, who all use softwares? Right. In fact, these days the situation is that the question should be that who all aren't using any software applications, right? So many of the vertical and horizontal business segments cannot do business without their critical software packages working. The incurred loss to the tunes of a few millions of dollars or euros or rupees per hour. So it's like, just imagine these days your stock exchange working on papers, right? Instead of the figures which you see keep on changing within fraction of seconds, so it's done on paper. So practically it's not possible. For example, your Indian Stock Exchange, all across the globe, people continuously buying and selling the shares, keeping even all the fluctuations in mind. So if suppose I don't have the application, software application, so it's practically impossible for me, in fact, to go to the stock exchange and then make some purchases or maybe sell some shares while sitting at my, these days while sitting at my office, I can simply do using my cell phone even. That's all because we have a very good software or the set of softwares in place, and that's all possible with the help of your software engineering. Many of the scientific research, your art and social organizations critically depend on certain software packages, right? So in the soon you'll see IPL, right? So you see lot amount of statistics that is in the form of your average batting average, bowling average, or last 10 matches average, and then you see those figures of players hitting sixes to the various parts of the ground. So that's all possible just because of the quality software applications which we have, and on top of it we have like the scientific research, so the kind of calculations we do, and these is 3D graphics, and then everything we have. In the arts also, your software engineering is playing a very pivotal role just because we have quality applications due to the virtue of your software engineering. More and more of electro or the electrical, mechanical, aero, chemical, nuclear, medical, pharmaceutical systems are now software connected, right? Today, just you are able to go ahead with this particular video just because we have tons of software applications working behind your telecom industry, where I have like data, and then we have satellites, then we have all these applications using which we are creating these videos and then writing on a tab or a pad, writing pad. So all this is possible just because of these applications or the software engineering. The smallest application which you see is in a form of your let's say a remote control these days is working just because of the various applications working at the back end. Now, so the question I think is clear because almost all age group people have started to use softwares, right? These days, small kids, they start playing, using some tabs or cell phones. They start watching videos from the very early days. So all because all these things are possible just because of software engineering. So the major change in software field plus the hardware field, right? So both these things are included here. The economies of all developed nations are dependent on software, right? So this point makes sense. Just look at the scale of revenue generation by industries like TCS, HCL, Infosys, or Infy to be very precise, or your Wipro. So all these companies are generating a lot amount of revenue, all because the wide usage of software applications and the adoption of these applications at a very large scale. So is there any other engineering product that is so widely used across? I doubt, right? For anything in, let's say the important part is like your healthcare, that relies on softwares a lot. Your CT scan devices, your ECG app devices, these days your smallest pulse oximeters, everything relies on software applications. Your insurance sector, previously it was on paper, these days it's automated. Yeah, right. Your insurance application can be made online. Banking, not at all possible without the software applications, right? So just if we see such a wide usage and the acceptance of software applications, then we find that okay, there is a need to engineer the softwares. There is a need to engineer the softwares. For that sake, we have introduced this thing which is called as your software engineering. Now, by this time, you might have got an idea about the importance of software engineering. So let's talk about the quality attributes expected of software and its engineering, right? So out of software engineering, what I'm expecting is something which is called as your quality attribute, right? We do a lot amount of quality analysis in this software engineering part, right? SQA is a field, software quality analysis. So then we'll be talking about software crisis and the current state and the software engineering ethics as well. So let's quickly go to this quality attributes part. So quality attributes expected of a software is like, I expect an application to be highly reliable, right? And not only reliable, my application should be extensible and maintainable as well. See, we'll talk about reliability, extensibility, and maintainability, and all these things in the coming slides as well. So I expect my application to have a very good performance as well, and the usability factor should be very high. The usability factor of my application should be very high. The application which I am coming up with or I am using should be secure. It should always be available and should be portable as well. Now these things are nothing but your NFAs. NFA means your non-functional attributes. What these non-functional attributes are, we'll talk about this in one of the coming units. Now these quality attributes expected of software engineering is your productivity and the cost. Productivity should always be on a higher side. high productivity. And of course, the overall cost should be on a lower side. That would result into higher margin and higher the profit. So let's see what these things are, what these non-functional attributes are one by one. So to start with, what we have is something which is called as reliability. So it is nothing but the probability of failure-free operation for a specified time in a specified environment for a given purpose. Informally, your reliability is a measure of how well system users think it provides the services they require. Right, so it's like the operation is failure free for a specified time in a specified environment. So what we can say is, let's say for a particular ATM machine application, what we have is we have something called as the ATM software. So that particular software should not fail for even a single time for, let's say, a duration of 6 months initially. See, this is the rough figure I'm giving. I'm trying to give you an idea that how the client specifies, and based on which it gives you an idea or an estimate of how reliable my application is. That means for the first 6 months, my ATM machine application, software application to be very specific, will not fail for even a single time. So, not all faults are equally serious. Right? Some things can be. It's like some faults can be ignored. So, system is perceived as more reliable if there are serious faults. For example, your Toyota cars are considered very reliable as the portability of their engine does not require a repair or replacement for the first 5 years in 99% cases. So most of the other parts too have high probability. Right. So on this we have a very interesting case study which is called as your London ambulance tragedy. So there is a phenomenal paper also on this particular topic, which is titled as Comedy of Errors, London Ambulance Tragedy. So that basically talks about the application which was used to automate the ambulance facilities in London, and within few hours it was brought down just because there were some failures observed. There were some errors. So failure corresponds to unexpected runtime behavior observed by the user of the software. One of the measure of the reliability is MTF, or mean time between failures. So in some of the literatures you will find this MTF as MTTF, which is called as mean time to fail, or MTBF, which is your mean time between failures. So this particular measure gives you an idea of reliability. So your OS 400 has a mean time between failure of 1.3 years. Just imagine the huge duration. And your MS Windows 5.0 had a mean time of 1.3 hours only, right? So many times your Windows crashes, right? And your OS 400 is the only software to have won the Malcolm Baldrige Quality Award so far. So basically this Malcolm Baldrige Quality Award is given by US Congress, right, in order to enhance the quality by the company. So all those companies who are implementing the quality management systems and providing the performance excellence in the field of manufacturing, service, small business, education, healthcare, they get the Malcolm Baldrige Quality Award. So this was all about reliability. Now let's talk about extensibility or maintainability. Right. So one thing is for sure, I need to extend some features of my application, or I need to update my application. For that sake, the ease with which I can do this thing is called as your extensibility or maintainability. So, software maintenance is the process of modifying a software system or component after delivery. So, post deployment, I'm going for software maintenance, and this can be due to correcting the faults, or enhancing some functionalities, or improving the performance, or for any other quality attributes, or in order to adapt to a changed environment. So it can be due to any reasons. Either I have to remove some defects or some bugs or some errors which are there, or I need to add some extra functionality. For that sake, I need to maintain the software. Different modifications require different persons' days of effort, and these things are badly analyzed, designed, coded, and the tested software products requiring more person days of effort to fix some simple, moderate, and complex extensions. So for this, what we say is that one of the measure of extensibility or maintainability is the average person days of effort to extend or maintain a software. That means like 5 people for 7 days, or maybe let's say 50 people for 7 days, so that would be around 7 point something for 1 day in order to maintain the application. So ease with which my software can be extended or maintained is called your extensibility or the maintainability. So for any application, it should be easily maintainable. So this was all about extensibility or the maintainability. Now let's talk about the performance. Now this is something which is very crucial. The reason being, these days we have like OLTP, which is your online transaction processing. So everything you see is like online. So this performance is something which is very crucial. So performance of a software is the average turnaround time taken by the software for each logically different type of service under the normal and the worst case scenarios. Right. So, for example, for the normal and the worst case business scenarios of a typical banking services will be like during the peak hours, let's say from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. It's the peak hours. So, if during these peak hours my application is able to give a very good performance, so it would be called as a very good application. And non-peak hours can be, let's say, after 5 p.m. So relatively on my banking websites, the load will be very low because at least the bank employees will not be using those applications at that time. So for online transaction processing softwares, often the transactions are clustered as simple, moderate, and complex. And your performance is measured as the average turnaround time for these normal, moderate, and your complex transactions. So this was about for OLTP softwares. For software algorithms, the performance is measured using asymptotic analysis under the best and worst case scenarios, which you people are already aware of. For the performance of a software system, including its hardware and network environment, it is measured by the average throughput it offers per unit of time. Right. So it's about the average throughput. Now, post performance, what we have in our bucket is the usability. Now, this is something which is subjective in nature. I'll explain you why. The usability is subjective in nature, and it becomes very tough to measure the usability of an application. So informally, the usability is the ease with which a user of a software package can utilize its services. Usability is a culturally sensitive subject. Now compare the usability of IBM mainframe PD, which is your professional development environment, and your Unix. You'll get to know. So a measure of usability is the average satisfaction rating of a usability of a suitably sampled user group. Now attempts by industry to mine texts of blogs, news groups to get a measure of usability of their software. Now, for example, let's say for me, the user interface of Amazon.in is very good, but for someone else, this same user interface might not be that good, right? So it would be like, no, not acceptable. So this usability becomes subjective. So that's why there are, of course, there are several standards for, let's say, keeping some buttons or the menus or the images. There are some standards for this, but still usability becomes a very subjective topic. For example, let's say for me, Flipkart might be less user friendly, whereas for someone else, the Flipkart's application and website might be very much user friendly. So in that case, once again, it becomes a subjective matter. For someone, yellow color might be very good, and blue yellow combination of Flipkart might not be good, right? So for someone else, like I prefer to have blue color, so I may like this blue color of Flipkart website. So that once again, as I said, this becomes a subjective topic, right? Though there is a concept of coming up with a usability matrix, right? We'll talk about usability matrix as well. In that case, we come up with some inputs and we take some values in order to come up with a usability matrix of a particular application. Now, next one is your security, a very crucial, right? Software security, you see everywhere. Software security topic, you observe this thing everywhere. Now, security of a software is the degree of its capability to protect its services and data from unauthorized users. That means only authorized users have the access to the data, and the services, unauthorized users should not get the access to any of these things. So it's like many times you get to listen to the news that okay, these many websites hacked and these many data of credit cards of users hacked and so on and so forth. So that kind of hacking is done. So that means some unauthorized user got the access of some confidential data which he shouldn't have received. Now, authentication in order to log in and authorization to use only certain services are used to protect the services, and encryption to protect the data, right? For example, your MIS application, when you log into the system, you have a different access right. That means you'll be able to see the details of yours, right? Someone else, let's say for me, I'll have a different access right. My access level will be a different one. So I'll have a different access right. So I may have access to more amount of data or maybe less amount of data as compared to you. So it depends on the kind of user, the user access level, and the user authorization level. So that's how if I'm able to provide this with the help of my application, so I'll declare my application to be a secured one. So it was all about security. Now let's talk about availability. Now availability, the very first thing is we always say that availability factor of any application should be very high. So software packages contain many modules which are integrated, and these integrated modules work together. For example, your web servers, app servers, your DBMS servers, your application software modules, your operating system, your network layers. All these things are working together to offer, let's say, this Infosys Finacle is a very popular banking application, right? So many of these banks, your ICICI, your PNB, these things are relying on your Infosys provided Finacle application. So all the activities of banking is provided by this Finacle, and this particular application works in in collaboration, you can say, with all these things, which is your app servers, web servers, DBMS servers, and whatnot. Now, availability refers to the percentage time that such as a complex software package is continuously available, measured over 100 units of time, maybe. So many banks of reputation demand 99.9% availability for every 1000 days from the IT service provider. That means for these many days, my application should be up and running for 99.9% time. So it would be like, let's say, for example, let's say a rough example, I would say that, okay, my ATM services should not go down for more than 2 days in a period of 365 days. So that means 2 days in total can be a downtime for an ATM machine out of 365 days that means in a year, not more than 2 in totality. My ATM services should not go down, right? So this was all about availability, and maybe for the next accessibility or your non-functional attributes, we'll talk about that particular thing in our next video.